Men versus women, psychological differences. Welcome to the Sacred Karma podcast. I'm Vicky, and today's episode is Men versus Women, psychological differences. This is one of those topics where everyone has an opinion, but few people want to speak the truth because it's become so politically charged. Well, we're going there today. If you've ever wondered why men and women seem to communicate from different planets, why your partner doesn't understand what seems obvious to you, or whether the differences are real or just social conditioning, this episode will give you answers that might surprise you. Let me start by saying something that's become controversial to even mention. Men and women are psychologically different, not better or worse, not superior or inferior, different. And pretending those differences don't exist doesn't create equality. It creates confusion and conflict. I've worked with thousands of couples over 2 decades, and I've watched the same patterns play out again and again. The woman explains everything in detail, hoping her partner will understand her emotions. The man withdraws when she's just trying to share her feelings. She thinks he doesn't care. He thinks she's overreacting. And both are operating from completely different psychological frameworks. Here's what we need to understand. These differences aren't just cultural. Yes, society shapes how we express gender, but there are fundamental neurological and hormonal differences that affect how men and women process emotions, handle stress, communicate needs, and perceive relationships. Now, before we dive into psychology, let me share what ancient Vedic wisdom teaches us. The Hindu scriptures don't see masculine and feminine as just biological categories. They're cosmic principles. Shiva and Shakti, consciousness and energy, static and dynamic. Neither can exist without the other. Neither is complete alone. The Shiva Purana describes how Shiva represents pure consciousness, still observing, unchanging. Shakti represents dynamic energy, creative, expressive, ever moving. When they unite, creation happens. When they're in balance, there's harmony. When they're separated or in conflict, there's chaos. This isn't about biology. You can be male and carry more Shakti energy. You can be female and embody more Shiva qualities. But understanding these archetypal energies helps us understand why certain patterns exist. Consider emotional processing. Women generally have stronger connections between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. This means they can access emotions and articulate them simultaneously more easily. When upset, a woman can often tell you exactly what she's feeling and why. Talking through emotions is how she processes them. Men typically have less integration between emotional and verbal centers. When upset, a man often needs time to figure out what he's experiencing before he can discuss it. Internal processing comes first. This isn't emotional unavailability. It's a different system entirely. So what unfolds? She wants to talk through feelings as they're happening. He needs space to process before discussing them. She interprets his silence as indifference. He experiences her need to talk as pressure. Neither is wrong, they're just different. The Vedic perspective explains this beautifully. Shakti energy expresses, externalizes, connects through words and emotion. Shiva energy internalizes, contemplates, finds truth in silence. Both are sacred. Both are necessary. Now consider stress responses. When women are stressed, their tend-and-befriend response typically activates. They seek connection, want to talk, reach out to their support network. Stress makes women want to bond. When men are stressed, their fight or flight response often dominates. They want to solve the issue or retreat to decompress. Stress makes men want to withdraw. You see what happens? She's stressed and reaches toward him. He's stressed and pulls away from her. She experiences abandonment. He experiences suffocation. Both are just following their natural stress responses. Here's another crucial difference: problem solving versus emotional sharing. When a woman shares an issue, she's often processing emotions, seeking empathy, wanting to be heard. She's not necessarily looking for solutions. She's looking for connection. When a man shares an issue, he's usually looking for solutions, or he's already solved it and is just reporting the outcome. And when someone shares an issue with him, his default is offering solutions because that's what he'd want. So she tells him about her difficult day. He immediately jumps to fixing it. She experiences being unheard and gets frustrated. He's confused. He was trying to help. She doesn't want solutions, she wants empathy. He doesn't understand why she's discussing an issue if she doesn't want it solved. Communication styles reveal the same pattern. Women tend to use more words, more context, more emotional detail. They build up to the point. They want to share the journey of their thinking. Communication itself creates intimacy for women. Men typically communicate more directly. Get to the point. What's the issue? What needs to be done? Efficiency over elaboration. Too much context overwhelms. Neither style is wrong, but when they collide, frustration erupts. She interprets his brevity as lack of interest in understanding her fully. He experiences her detail as taking forever to get to what actually matters. Sexual psychology is where it gets really interesting. Men generally have higher baseline testosterone, which affects sex drive, risk-taking, aggression, and competitive behavior. Their sexual desire is often more visually triggered, more spontaneous, more physically focused. Women's sexuality is more complex, more context-dependent, more influenced by emotional connection and feeling safe. Estrogen and progesterone cycles affect mood, energy, and sexual receptivity. What turns a woman on one week might not work the next week because her hormonal landscape has shifted. For many men, sex creates emotional connection. For many women, emotional connection creates desire for sex. The disconnect is obvious. He wants sex to feel close. She wants closeness to want sex. Both are legitimate needs, but the order differs. The ancient Upanishads speak of the divine union between masculine and feminine as the source of all creation and joy. When this union is harmonious, when both energies are honored and balanced, profound fulfillment emerges. But this requires understanding, not forcing one to become like the other. Aggression and anger show different patterns too. Men are more likely to express anger outwardly. Raised voices, physical expressions, direct confrontation. This doesn't mean all men are violent, but male anger tends to be more explosive and shorter lived. Women are more likely to internalize anger or express it indirectly. Passive aggression, silent treatment, ruminating on the issue. Female anger often lasts longer and is more relational. It affects how she experiences the relationship itself. Neither is healthier. Both can be destructive. But understanding the difference helps you recognize what you're dealing with. Social needs reveal another stark contrast. Women typically have broader social networks and deeper friendships. They maintain multiple intimate relationships. They share emotions freely with friends. Their well-being is closely tied to relationship quality. Men often have fewer close friendships and less emotional intimacy outside romantic relationships. They bond through shared activities rather than emotional sharing. They're more likely to have one primary emotional relationship, their partner, and expect it to meet most of their intimacy needs. This creates imbalance. She has multiple people she can process emotions with. He has her. She might not realize how much emotional pressure that puts on him. He might not understand why she needs so much social connection when she has him. The ancient texts understood this. The concept of the half-male, half-female form of Shiva teaches us that wholeness comes from integrating both masculine and feminine within ourselves while also honoring these energies in relationship. These differences aren't mistakes or issues to be fixed. They're complementary energies that, when understood and respected, create wholeness. Masculine and feminine energies, whether in men or women, need each other. The real issue isn't the differences. It's judging your partner's way as wrong because it's not your way. It's expecting them to process, communicate, and relate the way you do. What I've seen work in successful relationships, understanding that your partner's psychological makeup is different, not deficient. When he withdraws, it's not rejection, it's how he processes stress. When she needs to talk through emotions, it's not nagging, it's how she regulates her nervous system. You don't have to become like each other. You need to create space for both ways of being. He learns to listen without immediately solving. She learns to give him processing time without interpreting it as abandonment. He understands that her need to talk is love language. She understands that his actions speak louder than his words. Now, the uncomfortable truth that needs saying: yes, there are exceptions. Yes, some men are more emotionally expressive than some women. Yes, some women are more direct than some men. Gender isn't a straitjacket. But general patterns exist, and denying them doesn't help anyone. The spiritual opportunity here is profound. Instead of trying to make your partner into a version of yourself, you learn to honor difference. Instead of, "Why can't you just be more like me?" you ask, "How can I understand your world better?" The Bhagavad Gita teaches us about respecting the unique nature of each being. Krishna tells Arjuna that it's better to follow your own dharma imperfectly than to follow another's perfectly. This applies to relationships too. Honor what is authentic to each person rather than forcing conformity. Masculine energy without feminine balance becomes rigid, disconnected, all action with no feeling. Feminine energy without masculine balance becomes chaotic, all feeling with no grounding. Together, they create harmony. This is what the Vedas meant by the dance of Shiva and Shakti. Constant movement between opposing forces creating the rhythm of existence. Your partner isn't broken for being different from you. They're complete in their own psychological makeup. And when you stop trying to change them and start trying to understand them, everything shifts. So we end this podcast here. Your thoughts and experiences matter to this community. Drop a comment below and let us know how today's wisdom is resonating with you. Hit follow to join our growing family of truth seekers. And remember, every step on the journey matters. Until we meet again with love, grace, and peace. This is Vicky on the Sacred Karma.